Today at PM Intellect, we are going to discuss about PMBOK 7. PMBOK 7, as we all know, has recently been released by the PMI, and since it's been released, there are many confusion and questions which is running in the market. Why PMBOK 7? What are the changes which is there from its previous version, that is the 6th edition, from the 7th edition? What impact it is going to have in terms of our project management or the project deliveries? In fact, what is the impact it is going to have on the PMP certification which many persons are preparing, and of course what is the course of action which they need to take in order to continue on the track on which they are going. This is the video which is dedicated to try to answer all these questions and queries, and let's go one by one. Okay, so let's start with the PMBOK Evolution from its first edition to 7th edition. So many of you are aware that the PMBOK first edition, it was released in 1996, and then it was a 4-year journey with which the PMI was releasing the PMBOK standards. So the next standard, the second standard, was released in 2000. After that, the next or the third one was released in 2004, and then there is 1 year's delay where the next standard was released in 2009. After that, it again continued with the 4 years journey, like the 5th edition, it was released in 2013, the 6th edition was 2017, and the 7th edition, which has recently been published with effect from 1st of July in 2021. Now, the question, why PMBOK 7 Guide Edition? Why do we need the PMBOK Guide 7th edition, and why we cannot continue with the PMBOK 6? So, there are a couple of answers which PMBOK 7 is basically coming up with its details, and the changes are because of the different technologies. There is emerging technologies, there are new approaches, there are rapid market changes which is going on, and in that case it is actually difficult to continue with the previous based approach. Of course, for some of the project it's still going to be valid, and still we can continue, but then for some other projects we are supposed to have some kind of changes, and this is what PMBOK 7 is going to cover. The second, it want to have based on the changes which will be there to have the alignment with today's environment, so that we will have a seamless delivery in terms of our project delivery. The third is we want to stay relevant. Of course, the technology is moving, so we don't want to stay behind, and we want to cover up in terms of the changes which is happening out over here. Next one is we want to meet the customer needs, and of course for that also it is important to have something different which will help us in order to support the new requirements. And the last one, PMBOK 7 is something which is going to help us to remain proactive, innovative, as well as nimble. Now the next question comes, what's included in PMBOK 7 Guide Edition? So it is moving from a process based to a principle based approach. Now many of you are going to get confused. Okay, what's the difference? So till PMBOK 6, when we were studying, it was a process based, and if we go with the dictionary definition of a process, it says that it's a series. What is a process? A process is a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. So far we were using the inputs, tools and techniques and outputs, and they were a complete streamlined process which we were using in various projects. However, now we want to move from process based to principle. And what is principle based? So as per the dictionary definition of principle, it's a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as a foundation for a system of belief or behavior, or for a change of reasoning. So basically we don't want to restrict ourselves with a predefined set of pieces which we are calling as processes. And of course, based on the changes in the technology which we just discussed, it is important to move ahead. The thing is that when we are saying that we are moving, or when we are going from process based to principle based, it doesn't mean that the process will no longer be relevant. We are still going to have the processes, but we are going to incorporate the principle based approach also, and wherever we want to use the processes, we can even go ahead and align with that. The second thing, or the second piece is what are the various development approaches. So so far in PMBOK, or rather till PMBOK 5, we were having the approach which was waterfall. Of course, in PMBOK 6, there was a section which was added which were covering the agile as well. But now in this guide, in PMBOK 7, there will be all the approaches which is possible, for example predictive, or we can say waterfall. The second one is hybrid, which will have a combination of predictive as well as hybrid or adaptive, and third one is adaptive or agile. So it's going to cover all the possible development approaches a project which can take on. Third one is tailoring. So tailoring is a piece which was touch base in PMBOK 6 also. However, in PMBOK 7, what's been taken care of is that it is having a dedicated section which is talking about the tailoring, the approach and the processes which can be used out over here. Next one are the models, methods and artifacts. So these are the one which is going to touch base or even linked with the tools and techniques. Of course, we are not going to discuss the tools and techniques as what were there in PMBOK 6. However, these are the things which will be covered as part of reference, and of course tools and techniques are not going anywhere. It will again be available, where we will come back to on that. Next one is, we were working on up to PMBOK 6 onto the project deliverables, but now we want to move or we want to take a step ahead. There we are not limiting or restricting ourselves only to deliverables. However, we are moving towards the project outcome, and the most important thing, what is the value delivery which we are gaining out of that. Next one is integration with the PMI standards. So this is the piece which I was talking with respect to tools and techniques. So all the processes or the tools and techniques or the learnings will now be integrated in another digital platform of PMI, which is PMI standard, and here you will be able to find all those details. Of course, it is still under preparation, and it's expected to be delivered somewhere in end of August, where we'll be having all those details available. So what is the change or the major change? So we are going to have total 12 principles and 8 performance domains which will be included in PMBOK 7, which is completely different or the added section in comparison to PMBOK 6. Now the next question which comes to our mind about the availability of PMBOK 7. So the good news is that as of 1st of July, the members can download the free PDF. It is already available. You need to go to the product page of the PMI website, and from there you will be able to download. It is right now available for members as a free PDF. However, members and non-members can also purchase both in terms of an ebook as well as the print format. PMBOK will also going to come in multiple other languages, just like PMBOK 6th edition. It will be in Arabic, Chinese, French, German, Italian, Korean, Portuguese, Brazilian, Russian and Spanish, and that will be available by later of August, and that is in terms of the ebooks. However, the print version will be available by October, and based on the requirement, people can order that. Next is the PMBOK 7th guide. 7th edition will incorporated in the PMI standards, as we just discussed a couple of minutes back, and it will be released by 17th of August in 2021, and the translated contents, that means for the other languages, that will be available in 2022. Month as of now is not known. Moving next, what is the impact? Because so much changes is happening, we are suddenly moving from process based approach to principle based approach. So what is the impact it's going to have on a PMP examination? Many of us were so far preparing, and they were preparing through the PMBOK 6, and then suddenly now PMBOK 7 is there. So what change which is required to be done? Do we need to dump PMBOK 6 and start working on PMBOK 7? What the changes, how the questions will be there? So as of now, there is I would say very little impact which is going to happen with the release of PMBOK 7, and the reason is PMP examination is not based on PMBOK, whether it is the 6th edition or the 7th edition. It is indeed dependent on the ECO or the exam content outline, and that is what the basic guidelines which will be there. When you are talking about the PMBOK, PMBOK is just a reference material which has supported you to enhance your project management knowledge, thereby helping us or everyone to clear the examination. But definitely the examination is not based out of PMBOK. So what does this mean? This means that you are going to continue with the ECO, which was released in January 2021, and the examination is going to continue based on that. You will still going to continue using the PMBOK 6 for the process based PMBOK, as well as going to continue with with the principle base, but then slowly and gradually PMI is going to do the transition or increase the questions in terms of their principle based approach. As of now, there is no declaration which has been done, so we can continue with PMBOK 6 as well as start digging into PMBOK 7 as per the or look into for the reference on the principle based approach as well as the performance domains. Now, as I mentioned, PMBOK guide is an input for the preparation. It is listed as a reference, but it is not a test preparation. So we need not to bother in terms of the impact on the PMP examination. Now, PMBOK 6 and 7, both editions are valid to increase the project management knowledge, and both will continue to support for the preparation of the PMP examination. The PMP examination, which was launched on 2nd of January, will continue use the PMBOK guide 6th edition as one of the references. Again, same thing which I am repeating or which I want to rephrase, PMBOK 6 is going to continue to support for as a reference for the PMP examination. PMBOK 7 will be an additional reference which will help us to understand the principles as well as the performance domains, and PMBOK 6 will not be out or will not be offloaded in terms of the PMP examinations, and it is going to continue serving as a reference wherever we want to use the process based approach. Now, how exactly we are going to go with PMBOK 6 as well as PMBOK 7 once the PMBOK 7 is available? So far we were using as a reference guide of PMBOK 6. Now we are going to use PMBOK 6 along with PMBOK 7 as reference guide for our PMP examination preparation. One thing which is going to add is that the key learnings and the concept from PMBOK 6 will remain valid, which I mentioned just now, and they will be referenced in the section of 7th edition. They will not be in detail, there won't be detailed description of PMBOK 7, but it will be referenced over there in PMBOK 7, and of course you can anytime go back to PMBOK 6 in order to go through it. Also, the PMI standard digital content platform will be available by end of August, and then it will also have all those details in terms of mix of PMBOK 6 and PMBOK 7, and that will be a new digital platform which will help us in order to go through the details which we are looking forward. Now, what is the difference which is there between PMBOK 6 and PMBOK 7? So let's go it in three parts. The part 1 of PMBOK 6 was covering a guide to the project management body of knowledge, and that will be having subsections which were having the introduction, the environment in which the project operate, role of the project manager, and 10 knowledge areas. This section part 1 has been made as part 2 in PMBOK 7, that is a guide to the project management body of knowledge. However, the content has been changed, introduction about the content, and then there are 8 project performance domains, tailoring a separate section as we discussed, as well as the model, methods and artifacts. When we go to the part 2 of PMBOK 6, it is the standard of the project management which was having introduction and 5 process groups. In PMBOK 7, it has been taken as part 1, that is the standard for the project management, and it will be having introduction, a system of value delivery, which I mentioned that we no longer going to work on just the delivery, but we are going to go or we will be looking forward for the value delivery, as well as it will have the role of a project manager, which will be more or less same as that of PMBOK 6, and then the 12 project management principles which are newly added over here. And the last section is same, that is part 3 in terms of the appendices, glossary and the index. So in turn, if you will see, there is a swap in part 1 and part 2. The details have been changed as well as the contents are moving, where we will not see 10 knowledge areas. However, we are going to see the 12 project management principles and 8 performance domains. Apart from that, separate section of tailoring and separate section for model, methods and artifacts. This is the brief information. However, with a note that the ITTOs, the process groups, will also be there as part of reference in the 7th edition, but they will no longer be fully included, and they will be available from the and can be accessed from the PMI standards in case if someone want to go through and know about it. That's it in terms of the data which I wanted to share today with you. For more details, you can go to the PMI website and go through the PMP reference list, the PMBOK guide standards, as well as the helpful resources in order to keep oriented and informed in terms of the changes which is coming up. Thank you for your time, guys. We'll look forward to connect back with you with more updates and more details. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Take care, and have a great day.